How can attendance difficulties be supported? Now, with the knowledge of emotionally based barriers to school attendance, EBSA, and why it can happen, schools and services can create an EBSA support system. An EBSA support system is a relational, holistic approach to proactively identify barriers to education and support successful engagement with learning. It's done with the child, not to them, using a person centred approach. The EBSA support team was a fully funded project by Public Health England for the academic year 2022-23. The team supported schools to become EBSA aware and provided consultation and coaching for school teams to develop and embed an EBSA support system, focusing on early identification and prevention. The team created the EBSA support system in collaboration with children, families, schools, and services. At the beginning of the document on the screen, you can see those changing attitudes towards school, student and or family sharing distress around attendance, the school noticing students' distress around attendance or noticing that distress when they're at school and attendance may have reduced. So they're just some of the early warning signs that you may have noticed that have made you think, right, we need to um, begin using our EBSA support system. So becoming aware. So you can become EBSA aware at any point. It doesn't have to be because you have young people in your school or setting that are experiencing EBSA. It would be most beneficial if you could become aware prior to that, and then you may start to notice things or take a different approach or look at things a little bit differently once you have become EBSA aware to expand your knowledge and understanding of EBSA. And you have already done this and are doing this by watching the EBSA awareness videos, and you can continue to develop your knowledge by reading the documents in the Be Aware section on the EBSA webpage. The second part is to ask what's going on here rather than how do we get you back to school. That small change in the question, it just changes the way that you might look at things and to take a blame-free approach. Using the attend framework, which is a document that the majority of schools in our area have got already through the project that was funded for 2022-23. If you haven't got your document and would like more, then there are the links on the EBSA webpage where you can access those. So use this attend framework to identify all the contributing factors when there are barriers and problems. So the attend framework is a way to frame a conversation or a series of conversations with a family within a trusting and collaborative relationship. And then also being part of being curious is to summarise risk and resilience factors onto the EBSA support action plan, which is available on the EBSA website, or into another form that suits your school and your setting. Also within there is to really make sure that you gather everybody's views and opinions, but most importantly, the young person's voice. And further on in this video, we will show you some really interesting and useful ways to have those conversations and to be curious. And the third part is to be responsive. So facilitate a person-centered planning meeting where the interplay of factors are shared and attendees are supported to understand the risk and resilience factors. So create those next steps together with the child, family, school, and partner agencies, aiming to reduce those risk factors and strengthen those resilience factors. Consider the suggested activities from the Attend framework support strategies. Also, there's other resources on the EBSA webpage and the SEMH Graduated Response Toolkit available on the North East Lincolnshire Council website and also signposted on the EBSA webpage. And be reflective and review the action plan with everyone after a mutually agreed time period. And keep tweaking and keep reviewing and keep gathering those views as things will change over time. The North East Lincolnshire Children's Services, including social care, early help, the education team and the virtual school, have accessed some really high quality EBSA training from Ed Psych Horizons. These teams in the North East Lincolnshire Council are able to support and advocate for the EBBSA support system and also have knowledge of the Attend framework. Ofsted and the Department for Education are supportive of the EBBSA support system and the project that happened this year with the EBBSA support team, and having all of that embedded for children, families, schools and services in North East Lincolnshire. The EBBSA support system approach reinforces the Department for Education's guidance, working together to improve school attendance, that guidance for maintained schools, academies, independent schools and local authorities, which applied from September 2022. And it also reinforces the summary of responsibilities where a mental health issue is affecting attendance, published in February 2023. So here is a photograph of the Attend framework, which is an evidence-based tool that's used to identify the underlying reasons for absence and low attendance. It helps to identify specific issues in each individual case to help professionals put together an effective support plan. It is aimed at age 5 to 16-year-olds and is best used as part of an early intervention programme. It facilitates communication by gathering views of pupils, families, and staff and professionals, which then supports action planning and developing intervention in a solution-orientated way. It provides a structure to start those initial conversations with families and includes the following: an attend form for professionals, an attend form for parents and carers, an attend form for students aimed at those year 5 and above. It includes some pictorial cards which you can use to gather the young person's views about school, like a sorting activity. And it also comes with a booklet to explain how it can be used, and also a number of suggested activities and interventions and signposts to different resources and teams that may be able to help those specific areas that are identified. So at the time of recording, 42 schools and colleges in North East Lincolnshire have become EBBSA Aware. They have received their training either online through the webinars, in person, or through these videos. And they have then engaged with Attend framework coaching and coaching on creating an EBBSA support system using the Attend framework. And here is some of the feedback that we have had from those sessions. We need to use the Attend framework resources early on when we notice those early signs and when parents tell us what's going on in the mornings. We've got to get better at doing that so we can prevent the situation escalating. We have invited Jodie to our monthly attendance meetings where we use the Attend framework for any learners below 93%. It has been a great addition to our toolkit. You can see on the top right-hand corner the EBBSA Aware logo, which after a school or setting has engaged with all of the aspects to become EBBSA Aware. They have the use of the EBBSA Aware logo to display on their resources, and also they are awarded with a certificate of awareness as well. Here's a range of resources for all age groups that can be used to provide a platform for discussion. So these encourage invaluable insights into how the young person's views are and make sense of their experience of school. It places the child's voice at the centre of any planning, and they're also quite fun to use as well. I don't feel like people understand me, but they do. They've helped me understand myself more and helped me share my thoughts with others when I get overwhelmed and can't speak in meetings. And that's what was told to our team from a child in a local mainstream setting. And it isn't that the 3 people that formed the EBBSA support team over the year 2022-23 did anything unique and special other than listen and give that empathy and that time and use some of the more creative resources to champion and advocate for that young person's thoughts and feelings. Because as we can all imagine, being in meetings with professionals at school can be overwhelming. And for us as adults, as well as young people and children. And so having those creative tools that are played with before any meetings happen means that the young person can feel more supported to have their views shared or to share their views themselves using photographs of the activities that they've done with a trusted adult. The school wellbeing cards and college wellbeing cards are a fantastic resource. They're grounded in resilience research, and there's decks of 40 picture cards which have been developed to reflect key risk factors associated with school avoidance or unhappiness at school, as well as strength and protective factors that promote school attendance and wellbeing. Through a card sorting activity, the young person is empowered to share their experiences of school and any worries or concern that they may have. The school wellbeing cards are designed to be used by education, health and social care colleagues and are suitable for children aged 7 plus. There's also college wellbeing cards which are designed to support children and young people aged 14 plus who may be feeling anxious about transition to college, as well as children and young people of college age but finding the college environment challenging to navigate. You can see some photographs here of times when the cards have been used, and taking photos at different points means you have that record to look back at with the young person and to share with them or on their behalf to others in those discussions, those collaborative discussions. And it really takes that relational, that person centered, using an active listening approach in a playful way. And here is another quote that was gathered through the project. Our child has not been able to talk about school to us, school staff, and people from other services, but he has been able to talk about school to the EBBSA support team. I'm shocked. Path Planning Alternative Tomorrows with Hope is a creative planning tool that draws on people's ability to visualize different futures and plan backwards from a future vision or dream and tell stories about how that vision can come into being. This has been a really useful tool to use with children and young people, helping them to create a vision for a positive future, commit to invest in moving forwards to this future, and have a sense of how to do this. Please contact the North East Lincolnshire Education Psychologist team for more information on this tool. And another quote from people this year: it was the first time I felt really listened to and believed by someone who wasn't family or a friend. They were kind, flexible, took time to get to know my child and didn't judge us. They have been a fantastic advocate for the young person. When we have our sessions, they speak so positively about the support they are getting. I don't know what we would have done without the EBBSA support team to help us mediate and advocate for the child at meetings with the school. I was very worried about this young person and still am, but I sleep easier knowing the EBBSA support team are helping him and his family. I'm so happy my daughter seems brighter and has been to school for 4 days in a row now. We were at crisis point in our family and their help was much needed. I don't want to think about what would have happened if the EBSA support team hadn't been there to help us. He's opened up to them and they've really listened. As you can see from the viewpoints from local people who have experienced the EBSA support system, adopting the system in your setting has the potential to have a positive impact on the well-being of children, young people and families in North East Lincolnshire, enabling them to thrive and learn.